Dad joke time. At what point do we stop calling this the old man and start calling it the old men? Hello, everyone. Terrence here with Hollywood Already Did It. If you haven't already, go ahead, like, share, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, ring that bell below. Anytime we have something, you will be among the first to know. I just want to say before I get into the review, this is a safe space. You don't have to lurk in the shadows. I see you guys. The subscriber count's going up, and I see the views going up. You can talk to me. I don't bite. So The Old Man, episode 6, is here. It's the penultimate episode of the season. Penultimate. By now, we've done enough of these, you should know, but it's the episode before the last one. And it was bound to happen. This is probably the episode that I like the least. Doesn't mean that I don't like the episode, but of all the ones that we've gotten so far, this is the one that kind of felt the most like spinning its wheels. I think the episode before did a lot of the talking with the two pairs of Harold and Angela and Dan and Zoe to put them in a place where we thought these two episodes that finish off the season are going to kind of be a little bit more fast moving. But when you're doing the spy thriller, you kind of got to know that the pacing is going to be up and down. It's going to be a little bit moment to sort of let breathe. And this episode does sort of what the last episode was supposed to do and still put players in place and do things so that when we get to the finale, we can kind of just go. Spy thrillers are always interesting though because it is always a cat and mouse game or tit for tat. A will they help me, won't they help me, double cross you, double cross them type of situation. And that's what we get a lot of in this episode. Dan and Zoe are still on the flight, coming to go see Pavlovich, who we get a couple of flashbacks in this sequence to show that at some point in time, Pavlovich was being interrogated uh, and tortured, and Dan saves him, saved his life. And so he is now, he's flying here to sort of cash in the favor to help him get out of this, to basically close the loop and get and protect his daughter. There's an interesting piece that happens on this flight that I was like, I get what Dan's saying, and Zoe calls him out on it, but he puts like the name, her real name, on a napkin and then puts that in water and sort of dissolves it. And he's like, all right, for this moment when we get off this plane, when these doors open, this person is no longer there, but it is somewhere in the background. And when it's all said and done, when we're done, you're going to put that name back together and take it out. And she was like, well, this is a bad analogy because my name's never going to be the same after that. And that's kind of the point. Uh, um, it's a cute roundabout way for Dan to explain what this is actually going to be like for Zoe, who's just kind of been gung ho to like, I was a hostage, but now I'm in on it. And a little too easy to sort of just go with the flow. She's never had a moment where it's been sort of hit back at her. Most of the danger that has come so far has been at towards Dan, and now that she is a part of it and starting to seem like a part of like the FBI and all those other people are going to realize that she's no longer a hostage. She is now a partaker. Then things in danger towards her is going to start changing, and Dan is just giving her a warning. But Dan meets Pavlovich, and they have a heart to heart, a tit for tat, and Dan is kind of like he. Pavlovich is wondering, why do I need to get into this? I'm out of it. I don't need to be in it. And Dan tells him, like, well, look, if they're coming after me now, they're eventually going to be coming after you because they know you helped help me escape and help me get out. So eventually, they could come after you. Pavlovich doesn't really care. He's like, I am good here, and he tries to set him up. Dan's ahead of the game a little bit, kills them all except for Pavlovich. He once again spares his life, and he lets him know. Yeah, that's twice. I've done that twice. So hopefully, I think he may come back in the finale, even though he begrudgingly does not want to help. He may give Dan the assist to kind of get out of whatever the muck that he's about to get into. While Dan is having the meeting with Pavlovich, there's a party happening, a reception that Zoe is told to stay at and just hang out at the bar. Don't move from the bar. This is what Dan tells him. Don't move from the bar, and I'll be back. While there, Hamzad's lawyer, Kruger, spots her, and pretty much lets her know that I know who your real name is. Like, I know that you're Zoe, and I know that you're running with Dan, and I know that I work for a man who you may consider to be a killer. But I want to let you know that I'm here. There is some good in this, and I need you to make a decision on whether or not you are with Dan as a hostage, or if you're with Dan as a partner. And however you play that is sort of how we're going to go with how we treat you from this point on. And so they actually are starting to walk off. Zoe's kind of like going with her. More so because she doesn't really have a choice in this. If she really knows who she is, she kind of has to follow along, even though Dan said stay place. It kind of, she's basically being threatened, and so she has to move. As they're walking, the shootout that Dan was having with Pavlovich is heard. The gunshots are heard because he's not using a silencer, and the party starts to break up. It starts to scatter, and in that scattering, there's a moment where Kruger and Zoe kind of separate, and in that, Dan comes, grabs Zoe, they get on a boat and take off. Well, Kruger stands there, looking pensively. You mother, that type of look. And then they're off on the boat. Dan chastises her a bit about not staying in place, but she lets him know that she knew my name. And at that point, he's kind of like, oh, then you didn't have a choice. You had to go. They're heading on the boat. What's happening with Harper and Angela is essentially his life is in complete hell. Like, it's gone to shit. And he is going to, in a helicopter, meet in the same location. So before Harper makes his way there, like I said, his life is sort of going to shit, and he and Angela stop at a bank, so that Angela can make a wire transfer. But what she's actually doing is sending a decoded message to her other dad, to Dan's dad. While she is doing that, Harper is on a call with Bote, um, quote unquote his dad, which is truthfully the old man. While Harper and Dan are old men, he is the old man. He's the one who put everything in place. He's the one who put Angela in place to be with Harper. He's the one who allowed Dan and his wife to escape all those years ago. So he's the one sort of puppeteering and putting the strings. Harper calls his wife, and his wife sounds nervous and threatened, and basically we find out that Bote is there, and he's threatening him. And Harper doesn't really have a choice in the matter. But he gives him an option. He's like, hey, yo, I need you to turn in Angela. If you drop off Angela, you turn her in, we can make this go away, and I can make your life a lot easier. But he refuses. He's like, I'm not throwing her under the bus, because like with Dan, she is a daughter to Harper as well. But he's like, no, I'm not doing that. So he kind of informs Angela, like, hey, yo, the idea was this. And she's like, no, that's probably the way to go. We should play this. But he's like, nah, we're not doing that. They end up separating, and in that, she gets absconded. So we believe. With all the double twisting and all the turns and twists that are happening in this show, and the fact that Angela was placed there and being one of the women and both dads are sort of playing against her, something tells me that Angela may not be all that she is on the surface, and she may be playing both of her dads for her quote unquote granddad. Something just feels really convenient that she just all of a sudden gets absconded before all of these men meet at the same place. Just my feeling. But they all come together. Harper gets off of a helicopter. Dan meets at a boat, and Zoe, and they have a one-on-one. First time that they've actually seen each other in person the entire series. And Harper just lets them know like they got Angela. And it's at that moment we know the finale is going to be the two of them doing what they can to go and take their daughter back. I think it's going to be a pretty high action scene to sort of do, with most of it falling on Dan. But like I said, something feels wrong or off with Angela for this just to sort of be conveniently how we get there. I feel like she's going to be in on it. So all in all, that is the episode. Another slow burn. What's interesting is that the show started off with such a high impact action sequence. It still was a slow moving and like thought provoking show. But it had that long take action sequence, and then we had another action sequence in the second episode with them coming to the house and all of that. Since that point, we've had none. we had a little shooting here in Pavlovich's office, but that wasn't really an action sequence. It's really been more about setup before we get to a punch. And I feel like they made the audience believe that this show is going to be one type of way and have slowed down so much that they're now sort of not sure where we're landing, and it becomes much more of a dialogue heavy, which does not bother me. I know there was a comment in the last video that says they feel the same way about dialogue that some people feel about action. I'm with you. I love the dialogue. I'm here with it, but I can see how there are audiences who maybe be like, hey, we were told or believed that we were going to have more action sequences or more action that occurred, and we just have not gotten it. We've gotten the thriller aspect, we've gotten the espionage and the setup and the double crossing aspect, but the conceit was in those first two episodes we had some type of action beat in both of those, and we have not had one since. Nor do I think we should have one in every single episode, but to go from 3, 4, 5, and 6 and not really have an action sequence, you've made this sort of an uneven. So I think that puts a lot of pressure and a lot of weight on the final episode that comes next week. That there needs to be some type of then that was worth it, because we've had a bunch of setup and now it all is hinging on 7 to sort of make it all come together and make it all make sense. What did you guys think about this episode, and how do you feel about this series as a whole? Do you like that they basically teased us with 2 big action sequences in the first 2 episodes, and then kind of taken a slow walk to get what should be a very exciting finale? Go ahead and leave your thoughts and comments in the comments below. If you haven't already, you can follow us on Twitter at HollywoodADI. You can hit us up an email at HollywoodAlreadyDidIt@gmail.com. We also have a podcast by the same name that's on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere that plays podcasts. We are there. And like always, I got my ticket. You got yours.